best. Over here, I'm a Boglin. Me and my buddies need a place to hide out.
So goddamn thirsty. Howdy folks, it's your #1 Boglin boy, Jim Sterling here, with a fun episode of Boglinwatch 2016. How exciting is this? Very exciting is the answer. I don't even need to finish the question, do I? You know the answer. Before we crack on with the show proper, I just wanted to show off one of the small Boglins, which I used to call medium Boglins because we've already got mini Boglins. But these were kind of the tier down from the big Boglins that we've seen before already. There were quite a few of them, and we're going to be taking a look at these in more detail in a future episode, but it was wrong of me to not have shown these off in at least one of these off in Boglinwatch sooner, because they are an important part of the Boglin world, and it's very, very crucial we look at these and respect these, okay? This is one I had as a child, not the actual one. It's the same design that I had as a child. And as a child, it started to fray and deteriorate, and then I pulled it apart. I did that. Anyway, enough of that bollocks. Today we're actually talking about Boglin lore. That's Boglin lore, L-O-R-E, like Lord of the Rings or something, not Boglin lore, which is something that I'm working on, and something that so far the American justice system has not taken seriously, thank you Congress. As many as one commenter has been wondering, Jim, what's the story with Boglins? Not the product, but the universe. What is the rich history of Boglins as a concept? Well, obviously Boglins were designed by Tim Clark, who worked on Dark Crystal. He should know what he's talking about. The original premise for these Boglins, the outrageous creatures that come alive in your hands, is that they were found, they were discovered like a new species and taken back by researchers who put them in these cages that they apparently quite like. So that's good. It's not like indentured servitude or anything. It's not like the tragic caged Boglin that we looked at before. Where is it? Here. There. It's not like this poor bastard, okay? These guys are happy about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to read off the back of the box and see what this is all about. So you can read along with me if you want, if you can see it. Well, actually, no. I'm just gonna read it like this, so that you don't skip ahead or anything. Don't skip ahead. Like what I'm doing here is pretty effing important, so don't just treat it churlishly, okay? Like I'm some sort of clown. I'm not some sort of One interesting thing to note is that people who study Boglins in this universe are known as bogologists, so that might be something you want to call yourselves at home. As Boglin fans and Boglin watchers, you might want to start considering referring to yourself as a bogologist. Maybe that's something we could get going. Like those viral things that Ubisoft likes so much. How about that? So anyway, I'm going to read off this, and then we're going to look at the pictures and everything. So this is how Boglin started, basically. This may be the most significant discovery in history, and I agree with that. From the swampy bog that time forgot, I shall name these creatures Boglins. Observing their bizarre behaviour, I theorise that Boglins may be the missing link to human personalities. Now that's interesting, because it's not saying they're biologically linked or anything to humans. They're saying these things actually spawn from our emotions, like they're some sort of fae or something like that. It's an interesting idea that, of course, is given just enough vagity and obscurity that it might be true, it might be not. It's up to your interpretation as fans. It's a bit like Silent Hill or something that isn't video games. I don't know culture outside of video games and Boglins, but maybe there's a book you've read that's like symbolic or something? Is that what they do in art? Symbolism? Like hidden meanings and subtle cues and things? I don't know. But anyway, like that explains why on the field notes that they have, they do talk about the personalities. We already talked about Droll's personality. It's not worth going into again. It's quite grim. So anyway, their bizarre personality, blah blah blah. Could it be that long ago Boglins taught us how to laugh and cry? I'm not making this up. Even how to love? Well, there's a question for the ages. It seems that each of the Boglins has its own distinct personality. The Boglins I have studied pick up human habits quickly and display remarkable affection. Okay, so they're very empathetic. They're empaths naturally. However, they do get upset if not returned to the boxes I have built for them. So any unboxed Boglins you see on eBay are being sold by cruel people. Like the kind of people who make dogs fight for money, okay? Because they've got to stay in their boxes. They enjoy it, alright? I hereby establish the science of bogology. This is all real, it's even trademarked. It is trademarked. I didn't notice that, so is bogologist, so you might want to be careful if you go around using that. You might get sued by 7 towns. Okay? May all future bogologists learn... Ooh, that's not trademarked. Bogologists plural? Plural? Plural. May all future bogologists learn from these notes and go on to discover new things about this most intelligent and fascinating species. And that's not me saying that, okay? That's an official bogologist TM. So that's proof that what I do is legitimate. So we'll look at the pictures here as we study this lore further. Observing Boglins in their natural habitat. You can see there they've been drawn enjoying themselves in the swamp, having a laugh. They enjoy it. They like being on wood. You can see that, they like being on wood. Here are the large Boglins. We've all looked at these in previous reviews, Droll, Dwark and Vlob. Interestingly, different names in the UK. These are the US names. They were renamed in the UK. I think Dwark was the same. One of them was called Plunk, I know that much, but we'll look at that at some point in the future, I think. Large Boglins, glow-in-the-dark eyes, can move from side to better see at night. Okay, so if your eyes don't glow in the dark and they don't move from side to side, good luck getting around after dark, okay? You prick. Have a look at this. Unique tail design enables you to shovel mud and other food directly into creatures' mouths. Alright? Don't actually do that because it will harm the resale value if you cover the tail in mud. Okay, the tails don't even reach the mouths, actually. And here are the small Boglins, Boglinus minimus. Okay, Boglinus minimus. Those ones are Boglinus humungus. Not like Lord Humongous from the Road Warrior, who is also very good. But these are the small Boglins. I still need to get some of these, so it's going to take a while before we do a full review of these. I'd like to get the full set. So far I have Spunk, Squawk, and I have one called Clang, who I think here is Schlump, although the colour I have is different for special reasons, but we'll get into that later. So that's the initial history, that's where Boglin lore started. How exciting is that? And there were other spin-offs and things. Here is the Soggy Boglin. This is one of the Soggy Boglins. I'm not going to get this character out today because that's something we're going to be doing in the future. We've got a Soggy Boglin special coming up. Huh? They also have their rich detailed lore and history. Another subspecies of the Boglins family, Soggy Boglins. They get madder than a mermaid on a sandbar, if I don't know what that means, if they are not kept in an aquatic environment, okay? Therefore, I have built special aquariums to send these Soggy Boglins back to the lab for observation. And that's why these boxes were not cages, but had plastic on them with some green drawn inside. So it was like they were in like an aquarium, like in a tank or something. But that's cool, that's fun. So that's Soggy Boglins, okay? But what of mini Boglins, I hear you chuffing well ask? Well, they have their own story entirely. How good is that? Let's get some mini Boglins up on here. Oh god, they've fallen everywhere. Now, mini Boglins have their own distinct lore. These were brought out in the 90s, kind of capitalising on that whole craze they had in the 90s with the mini collectible things, you know, Monster in My Pocket, that sort of stuff. So these came out. We've briefly touched on these. We will be, of course, doing a full Mini Boglins episode at some point. But today we're just going to look at the lore of the Mini Boglins. I don't have any of the original leaflets and packaging for the first line of Mini Boglins where the story was detailed, but I do have access to imagery that shows it. So, Mini Boglins. Once, a very long time ago, the Mini Boglins lived happily in their swamp. The King Boglin noticed that the swamp was drying up and wisely sent scouts to find new places to live. Some were successful, others were captured, and yet more were lost and never heard of again. The places each tribe found are unusual, but led by their chiefs, this one's a chief, they settled into their new homes, all but the king, who disappeared and has not been seen for a very long time. Mysterious. There was a King Boglin designed. We have talked about it. I think we talked about it on the very first episode of Boglinwatch, how exciting for us all, where a prototype was made of the missing King Boglin but was never actually released, and that is something that they're talking about releasing in the future. But that was basically it. All of these Boglins are themed around where they lived. So this is one from the Greedies tribe. That's one from the Greedies tribe, is eating spaghetti, having a good old time with it, and the Greedies found their home under the fridge. They went to a person's house in the 90s and lived under a fridge. So that was basically their story. But things got deeper as the line progressed into the mid-90s. They ended up getting a bit gimmicky. And this is one of the latter releases, one of the latter booklets that were released with the Boglins. The later series of Boglins sometimes had those heat-sensitive stickers and stuff on the bottom, and an entire game, like a sort of rock, paper, scissors style game that was attached to it. It was weird. I never really bothered with it. Most of the stickers have fallen off these days, but the most important thing is this, which expands the story of the Mini Boglins even further. The Mini Boglins have a new enemy, the evil hooded Claw, himself a Mini Boglin who disobeyed the king and was cast out to faraway lands. Now this is interesting because it says they have a new enemy, which is the first I've heard of them ever having enemies. So that just hints at a larger universe, a bigger story at play, like Game of Thrones, which is something I only know from video games, from the Telltale series, because I've never seen a TV show or read a book. This is about as far as I like to go with literature. However, Claw has learnt new powers and has returned to overthrow and capture the King Mini Boglin, taking the throne for himself. He uses his evil powers to capture Mini Boglins and put them under his spell so that they will fight for him. The Mini Boglins have developed secret battle codes. See, there's a story explanation for this. Secret battle codes to help fight the evil Claw, and scouts have been sent out to find where he is. There are spies too who carry secret information. But beware, because some already work for the evil Claw, so the scene is set for you to do battle. Mini Boglins were all separated into tribes, and some had jobs. You know, we have a chief here, and some of some of them had special colorations. There were silver and gold chiefs. There were glow-in-the-dark scouts. Some of the spies, the super rare, were covered. They were coloured black, and they were the only ones that came in the black colour. So there's all sorts of interesting things, which we'll talk about in further detail when we do the Mini Boglin episode in full. But that's basically a good overview of Boglin sort of lore and history from an in-universe perspective, which is very exciting, and I'll put that down over there. And that's basically it. That's what we were looking at today. So I hope you enjoyed this look at Boglins and their rich history and the amount of story, the narrative stuff that went into it. I know I had a real laugh. So until next time, we'll see you next time. Bye!